I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show, we have Kaaran Kalantari, spokesperson at Wingriders. Kaaran, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thanks, Ashton. Good to be here.
Likewise, I'm excited to dive into Cardano Ecosystem. Let's just break right into it with what is you and your team at Wingriders working on in the ecosystem, and then we'll dive into all things Wingriders.
Sure. Maybe I should start off with kind of what we are. We're essentially a decentralized exchange, or a DEX, built on Cardano. And a decentralized exchange is generally non-custodial, trustless, permissionless, if you like. And essentially, as you said, we're built on Cardano. It's a place where traders, or swappers, if you like, come and trade different tokens, buy and sell them. You can provide liquidity as a liquidity provider, and also you can do yield farming. So that's the basics of it.
Wonderful. Nice and succinct, and I feel like this is a necessary addition to growing the Cardano ecosystem. You know, I'm starting to see DeFi on Cardano growing, and you know, I feel like there's a huge gap to be filled in. A lot of the network effect sort of been built on Ethereum and these other ecosystems, and there's a lot of room for growth for people that are investing in the Cardano ecosystem right now to sort of catch up. Where do you see the ecosystem at right now?
Okay, yeah, I mean, really from when sort of, if you like, smart contracts were enabled towards the end of last year on Cardano, that's when you obviously see ecosystem start to build out dApps. And obviously we're a dApp, we're a decentralized application. And from there, really, it's been quite explosive. If you've read the other media, obviously, around kind of the development, the growth rate of decentralized applications has been enormous. You may have also read, obviously, Cardano is a little bit slower in development, and that really comes from an angle that it's very much research led. So, you know, peer-to-peer reviews and all that good scientific stuff to build a very kind of robust, if you like, first of all, layer one blockchain. And then obviously, once that's all good, then you get all these great projects coming onto it and building on it. And really, this is all just started towards the end of last year, if you like. Yeah, so.
You know, I've heard on one hand, they say, you know, build fast and break things. And then on the other hand, you know, Cardano's ecosystem is, go slow, steady, and thoroughly with, you know, the best scientists and researchers in the world and get it done. And I'm curious on your perspective and the balance between those two with Wingriders specifically as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So going at the high level, obviously, you probably a lot of the audience knows the history. Obviously, Charles and Vitalik and a few others, Gavin Wood, they kind of started up Ethereum, launched it around sort of I think their TG was around 2014. That was one of the first projects I got involved in then. And obviously, they parted company because of disagreements. Now, that's a positive thing in many ways. It may be seen as negative, but it's actually quite positive because when obviously Charles sort of broke away from there, you've got all the experiences that happened on obviously the biggest layer one, which is Ethereum at the moment, with all the dApps, nearly 90-something% on there. And you walk away with the experience of saying, okay, what's right and what's wrong in an ecosystem, and you try to build something different. And Cardano very much is a third generation blockchain, taking on all the kind of good lessons from Ethereum, which is considered, I suppose, a second generation, and we've got Bitcoin, which is the first generation, and taking those good experiences and building something that's much more robust. Great development is just like, I suppose, building a hand-built car, you know, which lasts forever, or a great, you know, kind of, I don't know, museum piece or something. It lasts forever. It takes time to build great things. And I think it's not about how fast you build it. I think you kind of alluded to that. It's really how useful, good, you know, scalable, interoperable, sustainable, all those good things that Cardano really has and tackles is what is needed in a layer one. So for me, I think it's an amazing kind of platform to build on.
Yeah, great perspective, Kaaran. And now talking about the DEX specifically, you know, how long has your team been working on it? I'm guessing like since the start of the smart contracts, and where exactly is it at right now?
Yeah, just before then, realistically. If you imagine the end of summer 2020, the team got together. They kind of started planning and really kind of developing and thinking about what to develop and how to develop it. And yes, with kind of the smart contracts becoming live, that was the kind of get-go, but we were in stealth mode actually till sort of the beginning of this year, end of last year. And then we came out, and in a very rapid way, we kind of developed a robust platform that we could show people. And our first version actually was a demonstration how the DEX can fit into another DApp realistically, which is NewFi, which is essentially a staking wallet. Now, there's a method to this sort of madness, if you like, or why would you go there and not launch on mainnet? Because really, we want to be a, if you like, infrastructure piece for the whole Cardano ecosystem. So as far as decentralized exchanges go, a lot of applications or dApps, a lot of wallets will require kind of a swap facility where you can buy one token and sell another and vice versa. So our first testnet version that we launched just shortly after that was the integration with NewFi. And then in March, obviously, we went to the mainnet launch. And before that, obviously, we had the main, we call it the platform testnet. And we rapidly kind of moved from there. So in literally 3 to 4 months, we went from a POC, proof of concept, to a kind of MVP and then the mainnet launch. So, which is very rapid. I mean, you might say I'm biased, but really the development team we've got are absolutely amazing. You know, they are really, really dedicated. They really know what they're doing. A lot of them have been in kind of the Cardano sort of development ecosystem for the last 4 years, which is as long as Cardano's been around. And that experience really helps kind of propel a lot of the innovations, features, and various other aspects that we develop.
Mm-hmm. Great insight. And I'm curious on the front end of the DEX, and people that are familiar with Uniswap, just making it so easy to just be like one button swap done. Was there the usability, user interface for Wingriders? How does it compare to people that are used to the simple DEXs on Ethereum?
Yeah, I suppose Uniswap is a granddaddy of all DEXs, realistically, and many of the models of DEXs, including ours, were obviously initially built upon that same, if you like, architecture and thinking, if you like. When you look at the DEX itself, if you go to wingriders.com, you enter the app, you see a very clean kind of interface where you can swap one token for another. And again, I mean, I'll talk about some of our USPs that we have in terms of what we think is actually unique, and is actually unique, but it's very clean, it's very easy to use. There's not much difference if you use Binance or if you use Kraken or any of the centralized exchanges. They're probably a little bit more complicated. They've got various layers of swapping, whereas our DEX, you just come onto it, you just pick your token, the amount, and then you pick what you want to buy, and essentially that's it, done. Mm-hmm. Very simple, very clean.
Amazing. And one of the limitations that we've seen in Uniswap, at least, is sort of making advanced order books or adding more functionality. Is that something that's possible, or maybe in the future for Wingriders to do some decentralized limits or anything like that?
Well, I just wrote a paper on it, so we launched that one. So if you go to our Medium, you'll see it. So yeah, so from when it went live, realistically, what a lot of people didn't realize is that you can do limit orders and market orders right on the DEX, and we've got this flexible also limit order. So literally, the DEX it looks very simple, the interface, but when you go to the settings, for instance, you can change a few parameters of the swap, and essentially then you'll be either in a limit order or a market order or a flexible limit order. What I mean by that is you can press a button and it instantly sort of buys for you like a market order, or you press that button and essentially it's got rules that I would not pay more than a sort of 1% slippage, which is kind of a flexible limit order, and a normal limit order, which is says, you know, similar parameters. But yeah, you can do that from the get-go. As I said, you know, I'm not blowing our own trumpet, you know, which a lot of the audience might be thinking I am, but really the devs we have, every week we're coming out with something new. Every week we're coming out with a new integration, etc. So yeah, you know, if you follow our notifications and kind of, you know, and have a look at kind of the DEX closer, every week we're trying to innovate. I mean, what you said was very interesting, and I think there is this kind of chasm at the moment between centralized DEXs and decentralized DEXs, where a lot of people think these orders don't exist, or I don't know if you remember, in I think in 2015-16 it was the first decentralized exchange that I actually had to go on, which was called Ether Delta. I don't think it's around. It was an order book DEX. You just had to hang around for hours before your order went through, etc. Not anymore. You know, it's very like smooth. You put the order in, you execute it, and more or less in a few minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, depends on network congestion, all those things that are not in our hands realistically, but your order's gone through and voila.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, I remember Ether Delta back in the day.
Yeah.
And
That's cool, because not many people remember that, Ashton.
It wasn't the easiest to use, and you know, that was before like the AMMs could build liquidity protocols. So you sort of just had your order sitting there waiting for somebody to fill it, and it was also didn't have the best protection. You know, if you typed in the wrong number or the wrong decimal point, the funds were gone. And
absolutely,
you know, that happened to many people that I know. So I'm glad we've improved upon that now. Now I'm curious a little bit more on the decentralized ecosystem within Cardano and on Wingriders. You know, are you just trading between Cardano tokens, and is there a Cardano token standard, and are there a lot of tokens to trade in that ecosystem?
Okay, no, that's a very good question. Yeah, so one of the things actually that makes us unique at the moment in the Cardano space in terms of DEXs is that you can come and trade a Cardano native token for another Cardano native token. Now, that's not possible as far as I'm aware on any other DEX, because generally you have to swap into ADA or Cardano ADA and then go back into the other token through ADA, so that you're incurring fees all along. So that was one of our first sort of innovations, that you could do direct kind of swaps from one to the other. There's others, but I'm just trying to stay on focus on your question, so I won't go further. But yeah, there's quite a few features we got which we believe are quite unique. So if you want me, I can elaborate on that as well.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think that's important to save fees, obviously, and I feel like as DEXs continue to grow and there's more options, then it should make it more competitive for not being too expensive. But I feel like it's likely cheaper than trading on, you know, the notorious Uniswap fees and Ethereum transaction fees, where at the height you're paying hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, no comparison. I mean, Cardano is a very kind of, if you like, fee-friendly environment to trade in. So literally a few ADA will kind of get you a trade most times, and you know, it's deterministic as well. You kind of know how much fees you're going to pay up front, which is nice as well. Whereas the Ethereum, as you said, for instance, after the summer of DeFi and things just started going crazy, you're paying like $300-400 for it. And I heard some even crazier stories of people paying like 3,000 or something, you know, for a kind of, you know, swap to go through, which is absolutely ridiculous. Really, it shouldn't be like that. Things will change, but I think that is just not on, really. And in Cardano, you don't get that. I mean, it's a much more fee-friendly, if you like, environment.
Definitely. And what's the situation with like how Uniswap works with the automated market makers, building liquidity, having different trading pairs to help build order books from, you know, a decentralized perspective, like with Wingriders? How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, I suppose it's good to sort of give a brief kind of overview of how a DEX actually operates. So the main difference between a DEX and a centralized exchange, and obviously Uniswap is a decentralized exchange, but they all work from the same principle. Instead of trading between sort of, if you like, a buyer and a seller, what you're doing is you're actually trading against a pool. Now, what does that mean? So liquidity providers provide liquidity into a liquidity pool, and those pairs say ADA and USDC. Okay, or USDT. So they're always in pairs, and you're trading against obviously those pairs from a liquidity pair. Now, the liquidity providers are obviously incentivized to provide liquidity to these liquidity pairs because of incentives. So they get essentially they get a portion of the fees that they that the actual DEX generates, put back into the pool, and they get a share of that. And also with our DEX, for instance, again, what's unique is the ADA that they put in. So any pair that contains ADA as one of those assets, essentially we stake that at the moment for them, and they get a portion, or well, they get the staking rewards put back into the liquidity pool. So it's a double whammy realistically of rewards. Now then, what happens then for those of us who are not in DeFi? When you provide liquidity to a liquidity pool, like say ADA and USDT, you get these tokens, which are called LPTs, so liquidity provider tokens, and then you can take those into what are farms. So essentially you put that in, and in our farms, essentially at the moment, what you get is as rewards again are our governance tokens. So realistically, you're getting a triple kind of reward system within this whole ecosystem, which is needed for a DEX to operate the swap functionality, really.
Wow, very cool. And thank you for that explanation. I think that helps people getting into DeFi to understand when I'm trading, where does this go? You know, what is the mechanism behind the doors?
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. I mean, this environment needs a lot of education still. I mean, I'm sure, I think you've been in it for a while. I've been in it since I actively got involved from 2014. And to be honest with you, no one was interested until 2017. Then my phone wouldn't stop ringing from family, friends, etc. And, you know, it's about education, really. They're all, you know, a lot of people who are not involved, they're very scared. And especially now where we are with the market, Ashton, you know, the whole thing is tumbling at the moment, 50-60% down on Bitcoin, and then you got the rest of the target. People are like absolutely panicking and going, oh, this is just fake and, you know, nonsense. But I explained to them, like, if you've seen one cycle, I've seen two of them, and realistically, you just know what's going to happen. This is just part of it. Great place to buy. And also DeFi, what it gives people is that opportunity. If you're bag holding, if you like, or you bought some ADA, you know, so at the top or something at $2, $3, whatever it was, you can actually stake it and you can actually get rewards for it and accumulate it. And this market will change. I'm 100% sure. I can tell all your viewers this has just happened, you know, many times now, and we will get back to a bull market in the next however long, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whenever that is, you know. So that's the opportunity that DeFi does provide. Audience and education is very important, of course.
Definitely, Kaaran. And yeah, great perspective. And yeah, I think we've both been through multiple cycles, and it only gets bigger on the next one. And no one can predict whether it's 6 months or a year, but eventually, you know, you can predict that it's coming back. So great perspective there. For the viewers that are looking to learn more about, you know, Wingriders, the updates that you guys are making, use the DEX, what is the best way for them to learn more?
Yeah, join our Discord. Obviously, we got our announcements channels, obviously on Twitter and Telegram as well. We've got a Medium, obviously, for our blogs as well. You can head over there. All the latest developments are there in an extended format. Get down to that. We're currently running our whitelist as well. That's a great opportunity if you want to have an opportunity to buy the governance token. It runs till Sunday. If you join Discord, there's clear instructions there, and there's different levels. You can buy, you know, as little as a couple of hundred or as much as kind of, you know, higher levels. So I would head over to Discord, just join it, follow the instructions, and that's a good way to go as well. Great.
I will leave those links in the description box below as well, Kaaran. Thank you so much for your insights on the Cardano ecosystem and everything about Wingriders.
You're welcome.
With the whitelist and the growth of the DEX, and let's follow up in the near future.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Ashton. Great to be on the show.